When I discovered that you could record and produce while being nomadic, that was when I decided to do this project called Filastine. Barcelona does have a huge impact on the way I make music, but I wouldn't say it's rooted so much in the particular neighborhood I'm in. I'm quite happy with the kinds of people who are here, the kind of languages and people I run into on a regular basis here. As a whole, I'm happy with the way that it's constructed, the way that we can move around, the way that it sounds even. It's a pretty damn loud place. Of all the places I've lived, I've never lived anywhere louder. I could only say that some major cities in India are really louder. My studio isn't a fixed location. When I'm, for instance, I'm on tour, I almost never just go and play a gig and come right back. I know people in the region, or I'll go do a side trip, or I'll go record something, or I'll do some work. It's more defined by its nomadism than any kind of four walls. Everything from the temperature to the language they speak to the food that I'm eating while I'm there is all going to affect the kind of music that I'm making at that time. But also it depends a lot on the mood I was in when I was making it. Grabé en un par de apartamentos aquí, pisos en Barcelona. Siempre en Seattle grabo un poco porque tengo más instrumentos de percusión. También en un nave industrial en Sydney, Australia. En Lyon, en un piso de alguien que toca la sierra musical. En Londres, en París, en Kioto, en una casa de madera muy antigua. Y en Tokio, en una info spy anarquista. Y varios otros sitios. Aquí tenemos dos portátiles y muchos controles de MIDI, y por ahí hay percusión y tambores. This is like a kind of temporary studio. Even though it's a year and a half long, it's not very sustainable for me. It's a little bit apretado, and people pass through here. Like if there's guests, everyone's walking back and forth to the bathroom, and it's hard to actually get really, really focused. So, but even then, you can work anywhere. It's like people work in far worse conditions and manage to produce good work, so I can't complain. Oftentimes, the best moment to come up with an idea for me is a moment of pure boredom. Like when I'm forced to stand in a cola, or I'm in a concert that I really don't like. That's when my mind gets to work. Sitting in front of the computer, I never have a fresh idea. I can make a fresh idea by working it at the computer, but I can't start from a blank. I always start with rhythm because I'm a drummer, and then I'll start thinking about melodic things. I tend to find old cassettes in street stalls in different parts of the world, or find some obscure sample. Could be off a vinyl, could be anywhere, of a violin or a trumpet or some kind of acoustic or even a voice. And then take one tiny, like 3-second piece of that music and chop it up into its peaks and valleys. Then I'll map those sounds across a keyboard. Then I can go through and find some little teeny piece that sounds usable and make a loop out of it. There's not an exact way that I make songs, but this is one way that I'll go about it. If it arrives to a point where I feel like the song is really full and that I would be happy to listen to it or to play it in a club or in a context of dancing or whatever, then I feel like it's done. I just need to work on the tiny details, which can sometimes for me take a long time. But if I feel like it still has a lot of space left in it, and that space should be filled, then I think about what kind of acoustic instruments would fit well in it. And sometimes I'll travel and tour and do my normal life for quite a while until I meet this person. I like their voice, I meet a rapper, I'm hanging out with them, they're a friend of a friend, I listen to their work, and then I'm like, this person would fit perfectly in this track. The song is called Bataya, and it comes from this rhythm that I learned years and years and years ago in India. but it's of course really mutated and modified to make it work in an electronic way. And it has a kind of a sub bass, dubstep-y bass, but it's really the wrong tempo for dubstep, so it's not even remotely like that. And it features a rapper whose name is Raba, who's an Algerian who lives in Barcelona sometimes.
Un avión sin alas, vamos desde Algeria hasta Caracas, con algo de percusión, derbuca en Maracas, parar en Puerto Rico, donde gana tendrás. Génération de bohèmes, sans aucune peur de l'inconnu, si ton cœur bat le tempo, des êtres humains est bienvenu, du rap, du reggae, du rock, du gnéo au menu. With the vocals, the bass, and the drums together, sounds more like this. I don't worry too much about the space. Acoustically, sometimes it's a problem, but what I'll often do is take my bed, or whatever bed is there, and pick it up and put it against the wall, and try to make a little box, like a little fort for the vocalist, or the string player, whatever I need to record that is acoustic, to try to make a sound trap for them, really improvised. So for instance, right here, I've taken my bed out, I've taken the blankets and hung the blankets all over the walls, and just try to put as much soft things in the room just to kind of eat the sound. More than that, it's more about you just need a little teeny bit of space. It doesn't even have to be, it could be the kitchen or the bathroom. Just you need a tiny space to record, and the equipment that I'm always carrying with me. So it could be like a hotel room in India, or it could be in a plaza. Really, I don't mind a little bit of street noise too. That's another natural part of sound. I mean, sure, in a professional studio you wouldn't have that, but I don't think the listener's really going to notice. If there's one thing that could change, I could buy a little bit better equipment, but it wouldn't be any less portable. I could still do exactly what I'm doing. And the little teeny incidental sounds, to me, are like part of the soundscape. It's part of how we live. Like I live in a noisy context. I move in noisy parts of the city. I'm a noisy person myself. It doesn't make any sense that the music is so pure and crystal. Para grabar en la calle uso unos core sounds que son dos micros que se puede esconder. Son super pequeños. So all the acoustic sounds that are recorded more professionally with this mic, it's an AKG C414. One really nice microphone, and I use it for everything. The sound card it's kind of a cheap M audio, and all the other things that are MIDI come via USB cables to the computer. These drums are called tabla, and they come from the north part of India, and I've studied them for quite a while. This is a kind of normal cheap MIDI controller teclado that you can pick up anywhere. This is one of many kind of drum pads that you can get that has, 8 or 9 control surfaces. More like a mixer. This is kind of a special thing because this one has so many controls on it. I just figured it's the best one out there for me. This is wireless. It's going here, it's triggering a sample here. Then it's coming through the cable here, and it's making this make a blur. And the sound, different effect.